Hello, I'm Citrus, and it's dark out because it's basically the only time of day when it's cool enough to be doing anything really. And I'm kind of outside because I'm in front of the closet where I put my Gundams, and there's a bit of noise outside, so please excuse that. But yeah, I don't think I've ever really shown this off before. This is my collection. I want to talk about this a little bit, just because, it's something casual, and the collecting part of the hobby is something that I personally take a lot of joy in, and I don't really know if people talk about it too much. I was going to talk about, like, some of the more interesting things that I have, and how to identify how old your kits are, and, just whatever I feel like talking about as we go through it. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of people, generally when they post pictures of their backlogs and stuff, that they'll stack all of their kits like vertically. I'm not a huge fan of that because over time the stuff at the bottom tends to get squished, and then it gets really hard to like access anything underneath over time. Like you have to move a lot of stuff, you don't want stuff to fall over and so on. And a really annoying thing, which I'm sure anybody who's built more than like maybe a handful of kits will know, is that like the box sizes that Bandai has aren't consistent. I think the only size that is like consistently width are like the sort of like large master grades. So like this dimension is usually the same width, but that's it. Like everything else is usually some kind of inconsistent size. So if you try to make stacks of anything, eventually you'll get like sides that like stick out a little bit or cave in a little bit, and it's just really hard to kind of keep that all neat. So yeah, I put them all sideways like this. I'm not really sure if the box is stronger in this direction, but I do have a lot of, well, not a lot, but I do have several kits that I bought in, less than stellar condition box-wise. So like being able to put them on the side, like, lets the box like not have to take as much weight, since nothing else is really like physically on top of it, and usually that's the direction in which most of them have been squished. Alright, so let's just go through this real quick. I'll have some chairs in here, and we'll use one of these later when I show you specific kits that I'm talking about. So down here at the very bottom, I have my large box things. So there's my Dendrobium. And I have never unwrapped this because I was terrified of not being able to put everything back in it if I did take it out. So I have no idea what the condition of it really is, even on the inside, but I believe it's original print. You can kind of see over there is the Gundam Evolve 4 sticker. So the first edition print of this, I believe, came with a DVD, and maybe there were some other printings of it that came like later, but certainly if you buy like I guess the most recent printing of it, it wouldn't have that. And this is my GPO1, sorry, oh my god. There's actually a really cool thing in here, and because this box is open, I think I can show you. Alright. This one, well, both the GPO3 and the GPO1, so the Dendrobium and the Perfect Grade I have here, I've had for a really long time, and I bought them quite a while ago. You can see from the front, well, maybe not in this lighting, but it's quite faded. So when I bought it, it was pretty cheap because they listed it as sun damage, but I didn't really care. What I did care about was that it came with the bonus item, which, let's see if it's accessible. Okay, so in the A box is this thing, and I believe this was a first edition sort of a bonus, and I haven't opened it before. This is supposed to be like an Anaheim Electronics employee ID card or something like that. If I remember correctly. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, I'm a sucker for this kind of like, the sort of 80s aesthetic Anaheim Electronics stuff. I'm just a huge sucker for it. I love this stuff. Pretty cool. There you go. Look at that. Project GP01 stack. You can write your own name in it. I don't know if these are like properly numbered, because I haven't seen another one of these ever, which is really weird. I'm sure if I really go far back into the what do you call it? Into like some of the older reviews, maybe someone has posted another picture of one of these before. There you go. You can read that. And we have some stuff over here, which is basically the same as the text on the back of the card. So yeah, really cool little freebie. Since I have the Anaheim Journal thing, I think this complements that really well. So cool little bonus. Again, I think this was only for the first edition release of this thing. I don't know if other printings of it also included it. I mean, it's kind of like a little weird item. So, yeah, just an idea for how big this thing is. That's the shield next to my hand for scale. Sorry, half of the shield. Yeah, let's put this one away. Yeah, these days I think Bandai doesn't really do, you know, first release bonus kind of things very often anymore, which is kind of disappointing. Oh, there you go. So on the side there, first time bonus. Well, anyway, the last bit of that says Anaheim staff. See, Anaheim staff card. Yeah. So last bit of it says that. I don't know. Maybe newer ones do have it, and if you do, that is super awesome, and I hope you enjoy it if you have one as well. Let's see here. This is my Perfect Grade Mark II. This one, I don't know if I showed this off yet, but yeah, this one comes with the Gundam Evolve 2 DVD, also the first print bonus. I don't have a device. Well, I do have a device now that can actually play the Japanese region DVDs, but I used to not, so I never actually took it out of the box or tried to watch it. If you want to, I think there are people who have definitely uploaded it into different places online, so you know, it's not a huge thing not to have. But anyway, I bought this because at the time it was just really cheap on Mandrake. I think this one I paid for maybe like 8,000 or 9,000 yen. You can see there. Back in the good old days when Bandai still used to print the price on the boxes, that's 15,000 retail. At the time, the shipping was, well, I thought it was really expensive because it was for, you know, kind of a large box. But these days, oof, I really don't even want to think about it. Let's see, it's just my Perfect Grade Zeta. This is a normal one, I think. Nothing really special about that. Strike Rouge. Nothing special about it really either. And this one is my Astray Red Frame, which this one is the first edition print that came with the I don't actually remember how you're supposed to get this, which is really funny because I was getting into the hobby at the time, so you think I would know, but I really didn't know how you would go out and like buy like these sort of special bonus items. But it came with a set of clear armor parts. It doesn't cover the whole body, if I remember correctly, and an extra sword and a sword stand. So you'd have both katanas, the Tiger Pierce and the Gabera Stray, and a little stand that you can put them on to display them both, which was pretty cool. And this box is my box of action bases. This was, I believe, the box that they originally came in. When Bandai first announced Action Base 5s and Action Base 4s, let's see, is this an Action Base 4? Yeah, Action Base 4. I went ahead and like bought the maximum that the Ami would let me order at the time of both. So I have a ton. And what is this? Oh, I also have, this is from a trip last in 2019. And funnily enough, this was the only thing I bought at Gundam Base, which is probably, well, some people probably think it's a bit of a mistake, but I bought the unicorn one, and the other one I think is just the Federation colors one. Yeah, I bought these two, and that's literally all I bought there, which was kind of a mistake, maybe. But at the time, like, I was really running out of luggage space, so I even though I did want to buy more, I couldn't, and there was a reason why, which I'll show you in a minute. The reason why is because on that same trip, I bought this, surprisingly not at Gundam Base. Why, you might ask? Because, you know, obviously this was on sale at Gundam Base at the time. Well, I was an idiot, and because I believe the first printing of the Special Coating Master Grade Sazabi Verka was from 2018? Yeah, so I know that, like, once stuff hits Gundam Base, it doesn't really, like, leave for, like, a very long time. But at the time, I didn't really know that, and I didn't really think about it too much. And I also didn't really want to crowd on the train to and back from Odaiba with this. So I actually bought this at Mandrake in Nakano, which, you know, like, that's a pretty popular place for people to go. So I ended up crowding with this on a busy train anyway. The price was the same, so it didn't really matter in the end, but yeah, kind of silly on my part. And you can't see it right now, but in the back is another cool thing that I got from the same Mandrake the time that I went. And at the very back there, let's see if I tilt it this way, you can see New Gundam HWS Verka. So this is the version that Premium Bandai released, I think, at the same time that they released the just the add-on set by itself. But this is the mobile suit and the add-on set bundled together. And the difference between this and the normal one, kind of like what they did with the Double Zeta, or sorry, the Enhanced Double Zeta and like the Double Zeta Enhanced pack, is they made the color of the plastic slightly different. So this one is beige, whereas the normal New Gundam is white, and all of the Psycho Frame bits that you put in are blue instead of green. Before I went to the Mandrake that day, the night before, I went on the website just to see if there's anything I should, you know, keep my eye out beforehand, just so I don't like waste my time like scouring all the shelves. You know, like Nakano Broadway is huge. There's like a ton of different stuff you can shop for there. So I wanted to maximize my time, and I saw this on the website for 8,000 yen. Okay, now keep in mind that like the regular new retail price is 7,000, and I believe the add-on kit was 25, maybe 3. So either way, this was a pretty good deal, and the fact that it was a Premium Bandai kit was even more amazing because you almost never see like web exclusive stuff for less than retail price. So the morning that we got there, I bolted straight to the back of the store where they had all of the larger like boxes of like model kits and stuff, and I started looking for it, and there was a dad with his kid, and the kid was literally holding this, and it was like, oh, I want this, like, look how cool and big it is, and the dad was like, oh yeah, it's really cool too. But it's like, oh, it's too expensive. And then the dad put it back on the shelf, and I was like, oh my god, yes! So I literally just grabbed it and sprinted straight to the checkout counter, and I just plopped it there, and I'm like, I'm gonna come back in about 10 minutes after I'm done looking through the rest of the store, so can you hold this? And they're like, yeah, okay, go ahead. And yeah, so I took it home. So the new and the Sazabi Verka in the same place at the same time, so that was a pretty cool story. Yeah. And oh, you can see up here also something I'm pretty proud of. So this is the GFT version of the New Gundam. This is exactly the same as the regular New Gundam Verka, except this comes with an extra red runner for the Psycho Frame. And I can't really take it out because the whole section up here is like pretty tightly packed, but the red Psycho Frame, when you open it, makes it match really well with the unicorn. And I picked this up originally in 2014 when I went to Japan the first time. And I thought it was a little expensive because I believe the yen wasn't like pretty strong back then, so it was quite pricey at full retail price. I don't even know like how much one of these would be now, but yeah, this actually isn't the original one that I bought in 2014. In 2015, 2016 or so, when Mr. Scissors started like first getting really sick and I didn't have much money, I sold that one for I think about $160-ish, and that covered like one of his like exams slash procedures at the vet. So yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago I saw one pop up again on Mandrake for a pretty considerable sum, but I'm like, wow, it's almost like, but it like popped up literally right around the time that Mr. Scissors passed away, so I bought it again, and yeah, I wonder if that's maybe a little poetic or something like that. Anyway, the rest of the stuff up here, you guys have already seen the Master Grade XS, Fosbury Ka, just the Fosbury Ka. Oh, this is the Premium Unicorn Box Master Grade EX Unicorn. Nothing else special about it, really. It's just a pretty box. These are hilarious. Like, okay, so the story with these, I don't know why, but when the MGEX kits, like Unicorn, started coming out, I guess they were just not selling in Japan or something. Retail price is 2,300 yen or something like that, right? And in the regular one, like the regular box ones, you can find them all day on Mandrake for like 14, 15, like fairly cheap for what they were, really. And I was tempted a couple of times to buy one, but I was just like, it's just a regular one. I could just wait until they come over here locally and I'll grab one or whatever. And it did come here, but they were expensive, so I didn't buy one locally, and I just waited. I started seeing these start popping up on Mandrake a little while after that, maybe like 20, 21, and it gradually got to 19, and then 18, and I'm like, holy crap, like when are these gonna start like hit the floor? And then I found this one when there was probably like 6 or 7 of them across all the different Mandrake stores, and this was 14,000 yen before shipping. So this I got in 2021, obviously before like the yen really dropped, so the exchange rate was alright, not amazing, but even so, with shipping I got it for way less than it would have been to buy one locally, just for the regular version. When am I ever going to build it? Honestly, no idea, because like the LED strips that you have to put inside scares the crap out of me, but I will get to it eventually, as with all things. Oh, and yeah, the special coating Sazabi, I believe I bought that in 2019 in Japan as well. So it's just the new Gundams with the okay, so the effect parts that come with this is basically like the Figurize jet effect in yellow, for 2 sets of them for all 6 of the fin funnels, and that's pretty much what it is. And this is the Pasta Papi Besasi's high new that he graciously donated. The video is coming. I'm still working on it, trust me. And right up there at the very top is the Master Grade gold frame. And let me bring it down for you so you can take a look. It's pretty cool. Alright, so this is a Gundam-based limited item, I believe, and it also made the tour around like Gundam expos and stuff, and like the end of 2017, I believe, October-ish, something like that. And I call it special coating, but really, if we open it up, it is okay, so the white parts are this sort of the pearly metallic injection plastic, which I'm not like a huge fan of. Would have much preferred like a solid white, but that's okay, and I'll talk about why in a minute. The frame is full-plated gold, and those of you who've built the red frame or blue frame will know that a lot of parts of the kit are undergated, like you can see right there. So you can put it together. Well, my expectation is that it'll look really good. So, yeah. I really like that these little detail parts on the back of the shoulders are separate pieces. So, obviously I'm not going to paint this one, but like on the regular one, painting in all these little details is super easy and pretty cool. The reason why I'm not too bothered about the, you know, the metallic injection on the white is because I found, I think this was in 2020, Galaxy Hobby had these. So if I take the whole box out, you'll no one see what I'm talking about. It's this. So they had, I don't know how, but they had a bunch, like at least several of these for like $23, which was, I thought, I was like, okay, well that's pretty cheap. I thought like I thought like no one would ever have these anymore, you know, because they were from 2010, when the red frame, yeah, when the red frame first came out during the master grade. Sorry, not master grade. The Gunpla 30th anniversary like master grade clear parts campaign. So the red frame came with one clear runner, and then this set, which was released overseas only for some reason, came with all of the rest of the clear parts. So you can have a totally clear armor on top of whatever the colored main body color is. So my plan is to use these clear parts on top of the gold to get to see literally like all the gold. And I think, well, I hope it'll look pretty cool. The instructions that come with this particular version of the red frame is the same one for the, you know, the regular master grade red frame. This is the one that came out of, you know, premium Bandai back in, oh, what is that, 2014. Yeah. I think the accessories are exactly the same, pretty much. Here's this sheet for just this kit. Oh yeah, okay. So the only extra thing you get is the rail bazooka, which is still pretty cool. And then, of course, the special decal layout sheet, because this one comes with its own set. So yeah, pretty cool. I think this bazooka either came out first with the dual Gundam? I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will correct me. So, yeah, pretty cool. And in case anyone's curious, the little thing that was next to the gold frame is this, which is a Tamiya Mini 4x4 Brocket and Gigant. Honestly, I think this was probably even a bit before my time. I'm not even sure exactly when this kit was released, but when I was a child, like a very little child in China, these were very, very popular. Like you go to any shopping center, there'd be like tracks for these, and like the department stores, like toy sections and stuff, and they have like a ton of different kits with like motors and wheels and tires and stuff you can buy. And I know that like Mini 4x4s are still, I think, fairly popular in Asia. But yeah, the Brocken Gigant was my favorite car that I've ever seen, and never seen the show, so I have no idea who operates this, or even if it's like any good at all. But I really like the shape of it. I really like the tiger stripes, and I think this is one of the few chassis that is front engined. Most of them usually, I think, have them in the back somewhere. So does that make it good for, you know, track purposes? I don't know. No idea. I just think it's cool. And it's one of those little things that, like, I just saw pop on of Mandrake for, like, a couple hundred yen. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I think there's still space in my package, so I'll just throw it in there. And, yep. Speaking of the gold frame earlier, it's my red frame. See? Special clear parts, or sorry, special clear outer armor parts. And yeah, Gunpla 30th anniversary campaign. they re-released this. This is really funny. So like at the time, I really had this was right around the time I was first getting into gunpla, and I think it was like later in 2010 when they announced that the regular version was coming out and they announced release date for that, and I was like, oh, what the heck? Why are they announcing the release of a kit that already happened? And then it didn't occur to me that the version that I saw everywhere, well, not everywhere, because gunpla wasn't everywhere back then, but were the one I saw back then was just this one, and I thought like, oh, this is just what it is, but it turns out this is the special limited edition one. It's so kind of crazy to think back to like 2010, 2011. I think even up to like 2012, 2013, you'd be able to find like most of the kits from this line like just so easily, and it never really occurred to me that like they really were limited edition kits. But some versions of these now fetch a pretty penny, I think. Yeah, the box for this is a lot more full than it probably should be because I bought the Premium Bandai regular acid ray red frame with the different backpack, the shield, the beam rifle, and stuff like that. And I took those parts, put them in the box with this for when I eventually do build this, and I sold on the rest of the kit to somebody else who probably used it for a kit bash or resin kit or something like that. And pretty easy to sell, honestly, because I think these are fairly popular for a lot of things. And on the back, well, Bandai doesn't do this very often, but they printed some information about the campaign and other kits that were coming out, of which, if you saw earlier, I have several. But yeah, this was, there was Too Old for Toys and Wizardtar, who both of whom are unfortunately no longer really active on YouTube. They made a review of the Perfect Grade Red Frame on YouTube that was 3 parts long. The whole thing I think was about well over an hour, something like that. And I watched it and I was so blown away by the details and all the different mechanisms that Bandai put into the model kits, and I thought, wow, I really have to try one out for myself. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy Gunpla, and then the Perfect Grade Astray Red Frame is gonna be my first kit and probably my only kit because I don't know, whatever. But when it came time to actually go buy one, for me, because I was a slowpoke, there weren't really any around, and I'm sure if I looked any harder, I probably could have been able to find one, but I didn't. And a shopkeep, when I was on summer vacation back home in China, said, well, the Master Grade's really good too. And in fact, in some ways, he said that the Master Grade was better than the Perfect Grade, which I couldn't really understand at the time. Like, I had no idea what that even meant, but he was like, oh yeah, it comes with a sword that the Perfect Grade doesn't have and all that stuff, and this is right here, right now, so you can buy it. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so here it is. Literally one of my very first model kits. I did build the original one, obviously, during a move. It was actually quite a sad story. So like I came back from that vacation. I built it. I loved it. And right after that summer, I went off to college, and my mom decided to renovate the house, which is fair. But after I came back, the kit that I had built was kind of ruined. Like, bits of it were missing or broken, whatever. So it was really sad. And so I replaced it with this one. And this is the one that I have now. And let's see what else. Okay. So actually, these three are all kind of related. So the other kit that I bought at the time when I bought this was a Master Grade Unicorn. Just the animation version. The Verka was also out on shelves at the same time, but the shopkeeper was like, oh, okay, like, buy the animation version because it's better. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So I bought it, and I also built that. That was actually, the Master Grade Unicorn is actually the first kit that I have ever built, like, at all. And holy crap, was that a amazing kit to start with, honestly, because like I honestly didn't really care so much about like articulation or anything like that. So the fact that I was putting together this thing and I had no idea like how like what? Like the whole transformation just was completely mind blowing to me. So then to be able to build it, put it together, and then do it was frankly amazing. And then I built the red frame afterwards, and I was thought like, oh my god, Gundam is awesome. I'm gonna buy like so many more. So the second, well, the second time that I bought a Gundam. So the first time was this and the unicorn. I was aiming to get the Sword Impulse, right? Because I was like, well, it's also red, it also has swords, so like maybe I'm going for like a theme or whatever, right? But unfortunately, and I think this is still the case, on Amazon, because I was buying this in the States after I had already come back from my trip, there are two listings. There is one for the Master Grade Sword Impulse, fair, and there's also one for the 1/100 Seed No Grade line, so the 1/100 Sword Impulse. And the 1/100 Sword Impulse listing uses the pictures of the Master Grade. And there's something funky with the like the titles or whatever it is. But basically, if you didn't really know Gunpla and you just saw like 1/100 Sword Impulse and you saw the picture of this one with like, you know, it's like 10-mile long legs and like the big sword and the big boomerang and all the excellent proportions and color separation and everything, you'd be like, wow, that's awesome. And especially because the the no grade is quite a bit cheaper, right? So you'd think you were like getting a deal or something. So I bought that, and then what I received was obviously not this. So I was pretty disappointed, and so I returned it, and I was like, okay, well, now what? We'll enter the Infinite Justice, because I couldn't find the real listing of the Sword Impulse Master Grade at the time, and I certainly wasn't going to try again on the same listing, so I looked for something else, and I was like, okay, well, the unicorn's pink, and this is pink, and it's got all these things on it, and yeah, so this became my third Master Grade that I had ever built. This is also not from, not the original one I have, obviously, because, you know, this one is still sealed. Because the one I built was kind of destroyed along with the unicorn and everything in that summer of home renovation destruction while I was away. So yeah, but I did find this one a long time ago on Mandrake for very, very cheap. Let me see if, yes, okay, so I have this sticker up here inside, and you can see I don't even think I paid 2,800, because I believe online they had marked it down again from that. But anyway, it was very, very little. You can see there the original Yodobashi camera stickers that were on the box for 3,500. Man, remember then when like retailers in Japan can sell stuff for less than retail because that's just what they did? And now they don't, because there's almost no gunpla to be found anywhere. Well, obviously the situation's getting a lot better now, but yeah, they on the website they originally described this as like heavily damaged or something, but honestly, if you look at it, like, it's not that bad. Certainly, if you found this in like a hobby town or whatever, they'd be selling this at full price. Holy crap! Yeah, pretty cool. And there you go. 1/100 Hama Hama, which I do not know where all of these have gone. I don't know if Bandai has ever printed this since the first run back in 2017, but holy crap, like, wow. Okay, Quibbly, I have a I have a story about this. So, in 2004, I was a child. I'm sure many of you were children then, if you existed. And I saw this at a Chinese flea market. Now, the price on it at the time was really, really, really expensive. It was like, well, way too much, whatever it was. And my aunt, who took me to the flea market, said that, no, you can't have it, it's too expensive. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like, also, like, this is too complicated. You can't comprehend with your child brain how to build this. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But on the box, if I can pull it out, You can see here the articulated hand. Like, I saw that in 2004 on the box, like this exact picture, and I was like, that is amazing. I gotta have it. And well, it took me a while to find one. I mean, I wasn't like actively hunting because, you know, considering that I got into hobby in 2010, like there was obviously a lot of time between then and now, during which time these were quite plentiful, just about everywhere. But it was. I'm really glad that I got this particular one because it was half price, for being like, you know, dirty, stained box or whatever, you know, heavy damage, whatever they want to call it, and yeah, it was half price, and it's an original print as it turns out. Which yes, I can tell you guys. I should probably tell you guys how to identify that. So let's take this out. I don't know if newer prints of this still come with a cardboard insert, but this being the original one, of course, it still has it. You can see, I think it's probably stored somewhere, kind of moldy or something. So there are some stains on the paper, but when I received it, I cleaned it up as best as I can. Obviously I don't try to like breathe too much or like lick this thing or anything, obviously. But yeah, I think it's pretty clean. Yeah, overall, who knows? There are a lot of these. Well, there used to be a lot more of these kits that you would be able to find. They're just in like the worst shape, but all the insides are still intact and in good shape. So, you know, if you're willing to deal with a maybe potential biohazard, now obviously not during a pandemic, of course, but if you're willing to deal with it, you could get yourself some pretty good deals. Alright, so I made a post about this on my Instagram as well, but you can see here. So this is the date plate on the runner. So 00, this number never changes because this is set basically at the time that the die, well, not a die, when the mold was struck, right? So because it's a kit from the 2000s, it says 00. So kits from the 2010s will have a 10, kits from the 2020s will have a 20, and I believe kits from the 90s have a 90 here. So the wheel on the left is the month, and the wheel on the right is the year. You can see that is September 2001. That's how you know how old any particular kit is. Some stores will let you open up kits because they don't either they don't like put bands on them, or they don't get their kits from a distributor that puts plastic bands on their kits, so it's really easy to, well, it's a lot easier to open them. So if you can, you know, ask the shopkeeper for permission, and you can check exactly how old a kit is. And you can see on the box there, 2001. Now obviously, since the decade part of the thing doesn't change, well, how do I know that I hadn't bought one from 2021 or 2011? And at that point, you kind of have to do a little bit of sleuthing. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't a reprint of this kit back in 2011, and certainly not in 2021. I believe. But there are different ways you can go about verifying that. For example, on the Japanese versions of AmiAmi.com and like Hobby Search and so on, because they're no longer allowed to sell gunpla overseas, they will list like the most recent release date of whatever kit that they're selling, because that would have been the listing that they use in order to let customers place pre-orders for them. And so you can go back through some old listings to be able to find out like what recent printings are, so you can make sure that the version that is in front of you is indeed from the original print. And to find out when a kit was originally first released, BandaiHobby.net has most, not all, most of all of the more modern kits that they have posted on the website, so you can search for it underneath the master grade, high grade, or whatever brand page, and they'll tell you. for, I forget, I don't remember what the cutoff year was, but up to a certain point they only have the release month and not the actual day. So for example, mine is from September 2001, but the Kuweli's release date was, I believe, August 2001. So it wasn't produced in the month of release, but it still would have been during the time when they were first printing these. So pretty close to original run. Does it matter, like when your kit was printed? Practically speaking, not really, because like Bandai's manufacturing quality is generally pretty high. Whether or not a kit is printed like yesterday or 10 years ago, if it's the same kit, the quality should be about the same. But recently, especially because not too long ago, the Master Grade, like for example, the Master Grade Ball was reprinted. There was also the Gundam base version that is like mechanical clear, which I think is actually like, okay, it's really hilarious. So they sell the mechanical clear version of it, Gundam base exclusive, for 2,500 yen retail before tax, which is kind of ridiculous because in 2010, as part of the Clear Parts campaign, they released the Master Grade Ball Verka. You can see here, 2,000. Okay, so in this one, if you got it, you not only got the regular gray runner, but you also get the clear runner. So it's pretty much just the mechanical clear version of this kit for like $5 less. Anyway, people who bought the most recent version of the Master Grade Ball have been complaining about like fitment being a bit off, just pieces not really staying together very well, and some people say, oh, because of an old kit, and that's partially correct. It's probably bad because the kit's been around for so long, right? The ball originally came out in, let's find out. So if we look at the manual here, bottom says 2004, right? So it's 2022 now, which means if you're buying the Gundam base version, you're buying an 18-year-old kit, pretty much. Or I should say, you're buying a kit made with 18-year-old molds. And, striking a mold for a kit is very, very expensive. I don't know if there's been an instance where Bandai has actually restruck molds for their kits before. But considering that, like, gunpla isn't really built for industrial level tolerances or anything like that, I don't think Bandai would really do that necessarily. So if the mold degrades over time, which they do, of course, I forget where I read this, but I think it's like, significant observable mold degradation starts happening after, like, I think just a couple tens of thousands of printings. And some of the popular kits, which the Mobile Pod Ball I think definitely is, and Bandai's certainly printed quite a few versions of this, because there's this one, the 08th MS Team one, the Shark Mouth one, the Pro Shop Limited one, and the green Polypod one from like the Gundam build, whatever it is. Yeah, they've definitely printed quite a few of these over the years. So I wouldn't be surprised if, the lower quality that people are experiencing now really is just a consequence of the mold aging. And while we're down here, it's my other 30th anniversary Clear Parts kits. So there's, I think I bought, like, well, at least in my opinion, the best looking ones that were ever made in the whole line. My favorite is the Victory Gundam, which, along with the ball, the best one I guess technically is the ball, because it's like the most complete, right? So it's like, it's a clear thing, great. But I really like the Victory Gundam because it replaces all of the blue parts with the clear runner. If I can show you real quick here on the band what that looks like. So the promotional pictures show it half and half, which obviously you can kind of build, but not really, because the piece that goes across the top of the chest is just one whole solid piece. But yeah, when you replace all of the blue with the clear, I think it looks really clean and elegant, and with all the, you know, red Vercod caution decals, kind of emphasizing the red bits on the chest and the feet and the elbows, I think it looks really, really cool. I did get the core booster as well, and this is something that, like, I don't really know, like, because a lot of people have said that the ball joints for the sides of the thing are kind of crappy, and the fact that, like, I intend to build this with the clear parts, which, you know, and being the Victory Gundam, if you know what it's like, you build it once and you're probably not going to take it apart to, like, put the blue parts on or anything like that. So once you build it, it's done. The fact that the core booster has some blue parts on it, mainly just there, I've wondered, it's like, will it match? Will it look good? Honestly, I don't know. I thought about, like, painting the blue parts red, maybe, but I also don't know if that'll look good either. Like, maybe it'll look just too much red. Don't know, but I will cross that bridge when I get there. At the time that I bought this, I figured, like, well, you know, it's around, I can buy it now, and if I don't like it, I can sell it later, right? I don't have to build it, and I figured it'd be better to have it than to not have it and to want it later, only to find out that they're not around anymore, and feel bad. So I bought it, and it was fairly cheap when I did, because most of the people who wanted to have the whole package would have just bought the V-Dash Gundam, which was just both these kits packaged together. There weren't that many people who were, you know, especially after the Victory Gundam itself came out, were like, oh yeah, you know, I'll just go and buy the separate thing by itself. I just want the core booster. And that's exactly why I think all of the subsequent releases of these kinds of, like, accessory packs, basically, even if it is like a complete vehicle in and of itself, have basically all been, like, web exclusive stuff, because there's really, like, only 10 people that probably even want this at all. So yeah, and then as it turns out, these have not been around very often since I bought this, however many years ago it was. So maybe that was the right call. And yeah, okay, let's go through the rest of them. So okay, so the goof is a I don't believe there's, oh, there is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so the clear runner it gets is all of one leg and all of one arm, so it's kind of like a pretty clean half and half kind of look, which I like. And obviously, because it's just the limbs, and this is like the Zaku 2.0 frame, like if I wanted to change it back and forth between all blue or with the clear limb, it would be pretty easy to do, and I like that a lot. And we'll talk about this one, which is kind of the same-ish deal. Oh, the picture's on the other side. So yeah, one clear arm and one clear leg. They do a kind of tricky thing here, where they put everything on the shield side, because you can kind of see underneath the shield the arm is white, and that's just because the runner actually really only includes, like, just the shoulder, and like a little bit around the elbow, and that's it. So realistically, you only get like one clear leg, which is fine, I guess. The injection molded, oh god, what am I saying? The multi-injection, like, leg, so it's pre-molded, is a really cool gimmick of this kit. It's certainly not unique to this kit, and definitely not anymore, because, you know, the emotive manipulators for, like, big master grades these days, with, like, all of the individually posable fingers, like, that's the same kind of thing. Real grade advanced MS joints, that's the same thing. And so it's not that special anymore, but it still is pretty cool for this kit and its time. So I got it. And then these two I kind of have to talk about together. So there is a mechanical clear version of the RX-78, of course, and I believe that was also one of them It was one of them like event exclusive kind of things, but that was like back in I believe 2008 ish, because the Master Grade version 2.0 RX-78 came out I believe originally in like 2007 or so. Anyway, it was actually like a physical event exclusive kit, so there weren't really that many of them around, and because of the low quantities, and because before there was also before like Premium Bandai and everything like that, they are quite pricey. So if you buy this kit, you get well, it only shows it on one side, but the runner actually includes the whole waist, both legs for the knees and calves, and the ankle guard, and also both forearms. So if you combine that with the clear runner you get out of the Master Grade GM, which is the thighs and the upper arms and the feet, you get pretty much, not completely of course, you get kind of a clear RX-78, right? The only bits that of the white parts that would be missing on this one would be the head, of course, and the front of the legs there, like the shins, I guess. But you put it together, it is mostly a clear RX-78. So, yeah. Also, I really like. This is, by the way, this is, I think, actually the most recent printing of any kit of the regular RGM-79. So let that sink in for a bit. Well, obviously this one's from like 2009, from the one of the earlier releases from the campaign. But yeah, it's been well over 10 years since Bandai has properly released an actual kit of the RGM-79, regular old-fashioned GM with like the light aqua armor and the flat waist. I really like this design feature of the original GM, and I'm really sad that there's basically nothing else you can buy that kind of features this. Well, obviously, if you buy like the like every single version of the GM that's based on this, so like the GM2, the GM Cannon, and so on, they all come with the parts to do this, because obviously when they designed this kit, I don't think they were planning on there being 1.5 billion variants of this, but yeah, in the original flavor, this is it. And I'm so sad because Bandai has released so many new versions of the RX-78, right? There's like the 3.0, the real grade, all of the different high grades have since then, and like it's not that many parts to change for them to make a GM, and they just don't. But they will make you 1 billion flavors of like Pale Rider and like GM Dominance or whatever they decide to call the next one. But no, they just will not release another one of the original. Yeah. But hey, if you like that, like the other stuff, great, right? For me, just the original is fine. Although I do also have the GM Sniper 2, which you can see right there. Which I have because I don't think it's canon at all, but allegedly it is some kind of spiritual predecessor to the Nemo, which I do actually really like, and I will talk more about the Nemo in its own video, which I will definitely make sometime. I am making a lot of promises that I don't know if I can keep. Oops. Let's put this one back here. Oh, by the way, so behind all of these, I have more kits, which you probably saw when I had the other one pulled out there for a second. If I take out the Zaku, you can see back there. Yeah, these I put all of like the web exclusive stuff in the back generally because their boxes are fairly ugly because they're all monochrome. So I try to put like all of the colorful stuff in front. The only one you can really see visibly aside from this ninja up there is the Zagak, because I just got it a little while ago, and we'll talk about that later as well. So this is the White Ogre Zaku, my favorite variation of the basic Zaku. It's just a regular J-type. The only thing that it comes with, I think that is unique to this, are these, I think they're flares. And that's it. Everything else is just exactly like the normal one. And I really like it because it's just white. The really funny thing is, when I was, like, before I went off to college, I also saw this, like, in various online stores and stuff. And I guess it's kind of stupid, but again, I was stupid, so you can blame me if you like. But all of the pictures showed the gun, like, this kit just like on the box art, right? So with the weathering, which is pretty nice, obviously, to make it look like how it looked in MS Igloo Gravity Front. But I was like, oh my god, I don't want to buy a kit that looks dirty, like, out of the box. But then it's like, if you think about it, Bandai's not gonna, like, sell you a kit that's pre-weathered, right? That's insane. There's so much work. But then, like, Kotobukiya would frequently sell you stuff that had bits of it pre-painted. And then they also have stuff that's, like, you know, titanium finish, special coating, you know, whatever. So it wasn't in my, like, amateurish, ignorant mind, it wasn't unreasonable to think that maybe Bandai would sell you a pre-painted, pre-weathered version of a Zaku. So I didn't buy it, even though I really like the color scheme, because I thought it would come out of the box looking like all, you know, beaten up and dirty like that. And very shortly afterwards, I discovered a lovely website known as Dalong.net, and then I realized that it actually was just white. So during, I think it was Thanksgiving of 2010, I bought one of these on sale. This, I believe, is supposed to be a standard release kit. But, you know, just like how the Hama Hama is supposed to be a standard release kit, I don't know when the heck Bandai has ever reprinted these, so I don't know. But if you can find one, this is definitely the original flavor of Zaku to get. My favorite by far. I actually really like Igloo a lot, so I also have the Goof Custom. And this one I will have to open up to show you because the whole box is black and white, so you can't tell what color it is, right? If you've seen 08th MS Team, you'd probably agree that, like, grit is pretty much the whole aesthetic theme of the series. And as a result, all of the mobile suit designs, like in the original colors, are all fairly subdued. Even the Goof, which is supposed to be, like, you know, a light blue color. So I didn't really like it, like, you know, as a beginner to the series, well, the Gundam in general, it didn't draw that much appeal to me, considering, you know, my first kits were like bright red, bright pink, and like all these big, and like Unicorn being like white and fluorescent neon pink, and it was just like, oh yeah, I love all these bright colors. So I didn't really have much interest in stuff like this, but that's what this looks like. Like, this is the, I'm sorry, well, in my opinion, the best shade of blue. So this is what the original one looks like, what the old Goof Custom looked like originally. And you can see it inside, some more pictures of it. So, you know, pretty tame, right? But you actually look at the kit, and it is like this very bright, very poppy combination of colors. So yeah, it's another one of those things where I saw the kit on Dalong during my early perusals, and even though this was an old kit, even though I kind of had an idea of, well, it's not super outdated, but yeah, okay, it's pretty outdated. I was like, no, I think this kit looks so good in its, like, clean color scheme that it's worth it. And so I hunted one down. There was a reprint of this, not, well, it's a while ago now, but a couple of years ago they reprinted all of the Igloo kits through Premium Bandai, And so I think they're not too hard to find. Nothing too special about those. Oh, this is the first print of the Turn A Gundam. You can take a look at this too if you like. Embossed Master Grade logo on every side. Let's see how shiny that is. Yeah. This was a lucky find from 2014 Japan trip as well. I wasn't really sure if I wanted this at the time, but I was like, you know what? If it's one of the things like, well, if it does warm up on me later, and I were to think back like, wow, there was a time I could have just bought this off of a store shelf in Akiba and had it. I believe it's actually pretty close to retail price. Well, I think it's like I paid what, 3,600 yen, right? Okay, so it wasn't that much of a discount. Like retail was 38, but you know, a little bit cheaper. I would have, I had something like I'd much rather have it and then not want it later than to want it later and then not have it, right? The only special thing that it comes with is, well, this DVD, The Road to 100. And I believe someone has uploaded this onto YouTube. I'm definitely sure they have. It just talks about like all of the different master grades that have come up to this being the 100th standard release Gundam master grade. Yes, that many caveats are necessary because, you know, Bandai has been releasing special editions of all of the different kits since basically day one. And there is also, there it is. It's at the very bottom of the box. Gunpla Turn Ace. Get it? Get it? Because Turn A, Gunpla Ace, Gundam Ace. So Gunpla Turn Ace. Okay, but anyway. It comes with a special little mini magazine kind of thing. And on the back, the origin. Wow, who would have thought back then that this would become like a big animated thing and everything, right? But yep, it's just a thing that talks about Turn A, which ended up becoming actually one of my favorite Gundam designs. I didn't know who Sid Mead was as a child growing up because I was uncultured. But after learning about Sid Mead and realizing that he actually designed a lot of things that I liked, and then also learning that this weird Gundam was his, and then learning that this weird Gundam existed, I was like, wow. Had to have it. The fact that it has a lot of unique engineering to go with its very unique shape is very nice. And I think the rest of it is just some animation stuff. Now, wouldn't it be nice to get model kits of everything on this page? Am I right? I mean, technically, we do have, you know, the Zaku already, but like, we don't have that, or the Kapul. You know, when I think it was Bill Divers, yeah, Bill Divers first came out, and there was like the Momo Kapul. I was like, oh my god, yes, if they're gonna do this, because you know they made like the Goof R35 and a bunch of stuff that end up being like the Goof Revive, and I think the Mega Shiki kind of turned into the Hyaku Shiki Revive. I'm not sure. Like, they could make an HGUC of the Kapul, and that'd be awesome, right? And they never did. The fact that like I was just at Hobbytown today, and like the Juags from Unicorn, they're shelf warming and they're all discounted and nobody's buying them. Maybe that has something to do with why Bandai won't make a Kapul. So we'll have to make do with the old one. And of course, there's also the version from ZZ Gundam. If you wanted to go all the way all the way back and buy that one. I don't really know how those kits are like, but honestly, I never see them like around anywhere anyway, because the people who like them really like them. So trying to track one down is pretty hard. Okay, and to finish off the bottom of this stack down here, we have you can see a sliver of the box right here. This is my PlayStation 2. The special Zeta Gundam one, That's Hyakushiki decorated. It has a big, 100 logo on it, and it's gold with gold controllers. This is my perfect grade RX-78. This is the animation color version from, oh god, I think that's like C3 2006 or something like that. So it's animation colored just like how this is animation colored. It's the brighter blue, the kind of slightly greenish white, and the orangish yellow, so on. This is the first print version of the 00 riser that comes with the two-way stand that lets you display the 00 Gundam standing in the back, and then the O riser perched at an angle in front of it. Pretty nice display, and basically the one of the only stands that can actually display this thing once it's built, because it's ginormous. Subsequent releases of this don't come with it, and Bandai doesn't sell it separately, so if you want one, you have to buy one of the Chinese knockoffs, which is fine, because it's just a chunky kind of plasticky thing. It's not that important. But I don't understand why Bandai would make such an essential part of displaying this kit a first run bonus. Like, what, like, were they thinking that like anyone who bought this after day one was just gonna stand this thing up by itself and pray that it doesn't fall over? Like, yes, the little grippy bits on the feet are really helpful for helping it stand up and stuff, but oh my goodness, like, talk about short-sighted, am I right? In the back here in the corner, I just have, you can see there, my perfect grade Exia. This is the lighting model version, which I thought was supposed to be a standard release, but I'm actually not sure, because since the original release, I think this was back in 2017, Bandai has released the perfect grade Exia multiple times, but I don't recall seeing like the specific lighting model version of it with any like in any of the reprints. So you basically just have to buy the regular Exia and the lighting kit separately. I don't know, weird. And then you can't also see it. You also can't see it, but like behind this is my perfect grade unicorn, which is just hidden away. That was a thing that I panic bought in 2015 because I thought that like, oh my goodness, this thing's never gonna be on sale ever, so like I should just get it now while it's new. And while that kind of mentality would have worked out really well today, that is, well, not today, but like, in the current times, back then that was a pretty silly thing to do, because almost immediately after it came out, they were all over the secondhand shops, and at one point you could buy, and I think maybe even now, you could buy them from Japan for like 15,000 yen or something like that, which is ridiculous. So yeah, so if you had bought one on sale, secondhand, from some used secondhand goods store in Japan, and you managed to get it shipped here before, all of the logistics insanity happened this year, congrats. You made the best decision in regards to buying a perfect grade unicorn. It was really the best way to do it. Okay, let's see. So, titanium finished Sananju. My wife told me to buy this, or rather, she asked for it because she saw the box, and she's like, "Oh my god, it's so shiny, it's so pretty." And then, so I got it. It was pretty expensive, and I'm like, "Oh goodness." I mean, like, well, she's not asking for jewelry, so I guess buying $100 gunpla is fine. Anyway, I got it. And we basically had this and yeah, she asked me for this like right around the time we first met, so I've had this for a really long time now. You can see the whole box is shiny, and the gold, there's like a lot of foiling everywhere. It's really pretty. But I opened it up, and I showed her that, oh, by the way, all the gold stripes, all the decals, you gotta do yourself afterwards. And she immediately lost interest. So it's up to me at some point to build this, but she also wasn't in a hurry for me to build this for her or anything like that, so that never really happened. Will happen eventually, hopefully. Anyway, and right, so this is the unicorn to replace the one that I lost in my summer apocalypse. And I don't know what happened, but there was right after that summer, the full armor unicorn Gundam came out, and I was like, oh, I gotta have that because like it's got everything on it. And I did buy one. And then when the red psycho frame version, oh my goodness, of that kit came out, I was like, oh man, it's like in the original colors instead. I like that so much better than the green, so I bought that too. But then I was like, oh my goodness, first of all, I'm never gonna buy, like, when am I ever gonna build all of these parts? And then, you know, just seeing people review them and like how big and clumsy the thing is, given how fragile I know the base kit already is, I was like, forget it. So I sold both of them. And then for a while I thought, like, you know what, I just won't have a Master Grade Unicorn, right? Because I already had my metal composite one that I've reviewed twice now. And I was like, you know what? I think I really would like to still build one of these. And so after I also sold the Mastery Banshee and the HD Cage version that I built for one of my viewers several years back, I started kind of hunting down one of these, and I ended up finding this one, which comes with the original sash that I believe only the first print had. So yeah. Objectively, is this the worst version of the unicorn in 1/100 scale? Yes, absolutely it is. It's got the gimpy knees. It's got well, the most basic set of accessories. But it is this specific one, being the earliest, I hope would also be the like the tightest fit one, right? With the smoothest joints, the smoothest transformation, all of that stuff. So that's why I picked that one. Also the boxer is nice. I really like it. And it matches Nandrew, so it's nice. And let's see what we got back here. Okay, oh yeah, so Turn X, V2 Buster Assault Gundam. Now, like I said before, I normally don't like the combo packs, but this one comes with plated gold. Well, it's not plated. It's painted, kind of like the Hyakushiki, the Hyakushiki gold, right? So it's kind of like a satin finished gold, and it looks really good, and I really like that. I did have the just the regular V2 and the Assault Buster parts separately before, but in that one, the yellow is just yellow, fine, but all of the other parts on the armor, on the assault armor, were like the metallic injection gold, like on the high grade Hyakushiki. And I thought I'd be okay with it, and then when I actually got them and I looked at them next to each other, I was just like, I don't like it. And you're like, Citrus, you lazy person, why don't you just paint it? Well, there you go. You said it. I am lazy. And it also turns out that once I actually got this, I much preferred like the bluish tinge of white that this has to the white that is on the normal V2, which is kind of like a weird darkish yellowish white. I mean, in comparison, it's a warmer white than this, but I like the cooler white. It balances, like the whole color scheme with the blue and the gold like balances out really well. So as a whole package, I definitely prefer the big one. Okay. Oh, right. Back here, you can't really see, but there's the Hyakushiki Raised Cane, the Hyakushiki Kai, which is just the gold-plated version of pretty much the normal Hyakushiki with, you know, the Kai parts, and the Kubeli Embellier, I believe that's how it's pronounced. And yep, nothing too special about any of these, just stuff I picked up over time. And down here we have my Dom, the MS Igloo Dom, Picked that up back in like 2011, I believe, on a sale. And I can't see what that last one is. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's my Hyzenthley Raw 2, or whatever it is. The big one that comes with a Ferdudu 2 in it. You know. Probably know what I'm talking about. I like Advanced Zeta a lot. No idea what the story is, never read any of it because I don't read. I am illiterate, I'm sorry, you guys. I spent all my brain cells playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so that's where all my reading happens. But yeah, I have, I think this is all of the original high grades. I built this one off camera, but I still have 3 more opportunities to build the rest of them, so one of these will definitely make it on the channel eventually. The Haru. Oh, this one comes with, being the original one. Sorry, the original print comes with a booklet. I love booklets, as you can probably tell. All right, booklets. Okay, so this one comes with the Advance of Zeta guidebook. It's a Dengeki hobby publication. And so you see the Hazel custom here on the front. And as you go through it, just, you know, lots of AOZ lore in pretty much the same form as it was when it was published. You can see a timeline here of events of the Universal Century leading up all the way to and through Advance of Zeta. You know, it's stuff like this that makes me wish that I really could read Japanese. But I cannot. Yeah, some characters. And I'm gonna call back to Zeta Gundam, of course. There's also some, you know, a small manga in the rear. Bunny. Yes, the rabbit motif in Advance of Zeta is something that endears me to it, considering that I like rabbits a lot. Rabbits as a class of animal, if that's the right word, kind of animal, is my favorite, right next to sharks. But of course, shark ownership is not very practical, and I think in a lot of cases probably not really legal either. So rabbits it is. I'm also kind of scared about how sharks show affection, if they do show affection in captivity, which I guess is what pet ownership is, right? Pet ownership is basically captivity. So yeah, it's also another reason to not own sharks. Rabbits are very nice when they're affectionate. And there's just the finished one for you to look at. Am I looking forward to having to paint the other shield booster from my Hazel from my Advanced Hazel? The answer is no, obviously not. But I know that when I do paint it, it will look amazing. And I realize that comment may have sounded like I was tooting my own horn, but no, I'm perfectly aware that my skills aren't the best and that plenty of people are, you know, way better than me. It was more just a testament to just how good looking AOZ designs are with just like a little bit of work. They look freaking amazing. Just absolutely. Oh, and I forgot to show you actually. Yeah, so on the back of this, there are some materials. This was, I believe, for a period from 2005 until like 2007, when Bandai printed the back of like all of their high-grade Universal Century boxes. You know, just to give you a bit more lore and to advertise other kits. So for example, here they're trying to tell you that like, hey, pick up the master grade GM custom, and, or not GM custom, GM Type C I guess, but Jim Kai, whatever, and the Quell, because they're related to, see, all the other AOZ mobile suits, and buy the HGUC Ashimar. Oh, which was a kit that I had before, but I also sold at one point before moving back from college. And yeah, I don't know really if this was effective, as far as advertising, but I certainly liked it a lot. Did you know that the Mark II and the Hazel were rivals for the Federation's next flagship MS? Because I didn't. Yeah, all of them have some stuff on the back like this. This is one for the Advanced Hazel. Subsequent printings of this kit no longer have all this wonderful stuff printed on the back, which I think is a huge shame. I really don't know if it costs them all that much to do this. But yeah, whenever Bandai does this, I get giddy all about it. And this being the shield booster I was talking about. The whole thing is actually just cast in white. So all the little gray bits there in the nooks and crannies, you gotta paint yourself. It's not too, well, it doesn't look like it's too hard to mask because it's all just straight edges. So yeah, definitely worth the effort to make it look the best it can. Trying to get you in a more of the plant, Marisai, and how you can combine them. It's like, look, you can put all the Advanced Hazel parts on the Hazel Custom, and it can be all white. And that's cool. When Bandai announced that they were making more of these, I think was it back in like 2018 when they started, or 2019 when they started? 2018, 2019, one or the other. I was so happy. Now, I didn't end up buying all of them because I think at a certain point started getting, like when I bought my, well, what is it, like 4th or 5th TR4 kit, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of done. Because there was like, with the exception of like a few extra parts that they have newly molded for like the TR1 series, for like the head and like arm bits and stuff like that. A lot of it was just like repackaging kits that were either already printed or just repackaging them with accessory sets and like different colors like blue or white or something like that. So even though I had originally thought that I'd get all of them, ooh, you can see this one clearly had a pretty rough life before I got it. Yeah, it just was a little bit too much. I ended up selling my Hazinfli because it's just a blue version of the Hazinfli Raw, except and without the Herdudu 2. So I sold my Herdudu 2s and that just to, make room in the collection. Oh, by the way, this one's the GM Quell. And it shows you all of the other AOZ kits. And itself, Mark II, and all the different ways you can combine them. Yeah, I wonder if there was a Titans test team version of the Mark II. And you know what, actually? Ugh, if I could get this back in. So, the Real Grade Mark II, they released both of them at the same time. But in the Titans one, and I hope they show this on the box, because if not, it'll be kind of hard to explain with all the little bits. Ah, yes, they do. Okay, see, look. It comes with all of these thruster parts. And that's why, like, even though I guess I prefer the AU color Mark II, because that's the color of the perfect grade I have down there. I had to get the Titans color as well, because it comes with the so-called test type parts, you see? So different thrusters on the shoulders, the calves, and different chest vents. Yeah, and they say like this is like the Titans. So, ooh, there we go. So this is the Titans machine image, original parts. So obviously in the original animation, the the Titans Mark II and the AU Mark II are basically the same in appearance, but you know, they give you this sort of like Titans test type Mark II, ooh, which is pretty cool. I thought about getting the Titans version of the Revive as well to you know, complement the other AOZ kits that I have, but I don't know. I just don't know if they quite blend in the same aesthetically. No, since I've already built this, I guess we can take a look. I don't know. Do these two look good next to each other? Not really sure. We can see the overall proportions are a little bit different, but they're actually not as far off as I thought from each other. You know, considering that like the mechanical designers and like the whole aesthetics of the things that they came from are completely different, but like I guess as a modernization of sorts, the Revive actually, I don't know. Let's turn them around. Yeah, of course I have the, you know, Titans decals on the Quell. Sorry, the test team decals on the Quell, because obviously it's already Titans mobile suit already. I don't know. Maybe. I tried to remove the seam lines on the arms, and I used some cement that I thought was still good, but it was starting to get a little bit gooey out of the bottle. And against my better judgment, I used it anyway. So I don't know. They look a little bit gross, which is why I didn't really show this off. But I still like this kit a lot. Absolutely fantastic. You know, there was like kind of like a HGUC ghetto in around like 2015. You know, when Bandai was going really hard on the on like all the unicorn stuff. So, and unicorn itself was kind of, I don't know if like, here's the thing, right? Like in the novels, they would have described all of the battles that happened, but they wouldn't have told you like every single mobile suit that was on the battlefield. You would just sort of like imagine in your mind as you're reading it that obviously like there were skirmishes happening in multiple parts of a particular theater at any given time, right? And the thing is, I guess, is the films use this like flexibility in the narrative to basically plug it full of nostalgia bait. So they take a bunch of old MSs like Nemos and Gym 2s and what have you, and just put them in all in the background, because A, if it shows up on screen, that's a thing they can remind people that exists, and A, maybe you want to buy it. And there were so many kits that were made as a result of that, right? Like the Master Grade Nemo got 2 releases, literally like 2 releases, Premium Bandai, out of that. And let's see, yeah, Gym 2, you know, all of those weird like, oh, for example, like the Biarlant itself was somehow not important enough to warrant a release until like the Biarlant custom, okay, which was just, it's like, okay, because that definitely was a thing that existed, sure, whatever, until that was made, and then the Biarlant Custom Unit 2, and then the other Unit 2, and then the Biarlant Isolde came out, and then finally we could get the original OG Biarlant. Like, that's crazy, but I guess that's what it took. And during that time, like, a lot of really low effort kits, I think, came out. Like, for example, one of them is the HGUC Nemo, which was really disappointing to me personally, because, you know, I really like the Nemo, but there are a lot of details. Well, yeah, there's a lot of details on this kit in particular, because it's basically like a slightly simplified version of the 2.0 frame. I don't know why they they really should emphasize this more because it looks much more impressive when the entire suit has like no armor on. But yeah, it's a lot of molded detail and everything. You can see there's, it's not that colorful. It's just the green and blue, but there's a lot of like red thrusters and everything everywhere. And on the high grade, not a single red piece. All of the red is stickers. So like you get a sticker for the cockpit hatch, you get stickers for the inside of the ducts on the legs, the inside of the shoulders and stuff like that. And it was, and like it only had like 1 point elbows and everything. It was just like, I know the Nemo wasn't like, like a super popular thing or whatever, but like honestly, even for that time, they really could have tried harder. In my opinion anyway. And it really made me wonder, like, dang, they made stuff like the Gym Custom and like the Gym Cannon. Those are pretty good kits. Obviously not released at that time, they were released a little bit earlier, but like I felt like there was stuff that were coming out in the HGUC line that didn't even measure up to stuff like that, and certainly not to stuff like this little guy. Sure, knees aren't that great because this is based on the Katoki design after all. Well, okay, I guess technically he designed this anyway. That has like that little chunk sticking out the back so the legs don't bind all the way. But 100-degree elbows. Nemo didn't have that. And like this chest bit right here and the crotch, I believe, are like the only two red parts in the entire kit, but they're in the correct color. Oh, but apparently doing that for the Nemo is way too much. Can't do that. 2 yellow pieces, 2 red pieces, all the correct colors. But a matter of course in 2006, but come 2015, suddenly can't afford it. What's up with that? Who knows? And yeah, I got my Wave Riders here because I love them. I've built the Rizel, and not this one yet. And I also have the Defensor A unit, which is in the back, so you can't see it. But yeah, I'll definitely do a video of all 3 of them sometime. Probably should have done the Delta Plus with the Delta Gundam when I did the Delta Gundam video, because they're like conceptually pretty much the same thing, but actually like the molds are almost completely different. So it is what it is. Jesta and Cannon, and then my narrative stuff. So we got Narrative Gundam, Silver Bullet Suppressor, which I really like because of the low contrast color scheme. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. Alright. Yeah, the purple's really nice. And the high heels. And the forearms. It's just definitely, in my opinion, the most interesting take on the whole Gundam Mark... oh god, no, it's not the Mark V. The whole Silver Bullet, Dobin Wolf kind of lineage. Yeah. Was it a cheap cash grab? Maybe. But at least it's a pretty cool one. It's an Andrew Stein narrative, which actually it has some upgrades over the regular St. Andrew. And this guy, okay, so I know that when this came out, people were pissed because it was not the right color. Oh, I got the band on this. Okay, so I can't really show you, but basically the color that came out was almost brown. Basically, it's brown. It's like a dark, like a really, really dark red. And people were really not happy about it because in all of the artwork that had happened before, this was like a bright magenta color. If you know, like Angelo Salper's Gira Zulu, like almost that color, just a little bit darker. So that's what people were expecting to see, but then this comes out and it was just completely wrong, and people were really upset. Did that have anything to do with why Bandai then also made an episode 7 version of this? That just happens to have a couple of different parts, and then is also like pastel pink, which in my opinion is then way too light. So basically, Bandai made this kit twice, and they got it wrong both times. Both times. Yeah, it just happened. I actually don't think the original casting color is that bad. I certainly like this color scheme a bit more than like the bubblegum pink, basically, that the episode 7 version is. So that's why I stuck to the old one that I have. Even though God, the thing is, even I think the original version, like this version, has been re-released fairly recently, but I don't think the episode 7 version has ever been re-released since the original printing. So that one is worth way more than this. But even this is, I think, worth some ridiculous amount of money now just because of how uncommon they are. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty cool. And all of my original transforming ones in the Palace Athene, which doesn't, but is so badass in its lime green glory. It's cool enough to warrant that on its own. And yeah, you can see these also have that awesome back of the box artwork. The Gabusuri, because I can't pronounce. I don't know what that is supposed to be in English, man. But I do know the kana says Gabusuri. Oh, sorry, Gabusure. Oh my god, Gabusurei. Yeah, Gabthlay. Jeez. Man. What is with all of these, like, impossible to pronounce names, am I right? Palace Athene, by the way, was the last kit that I managed to pick up right before, like, COVID hit, like, just shut down everything. Yeah. It was actually just kind of wavering at the time. Just thinking, like, you know, do I want it and do I not? And it was 1,800 yen. Mandrake had for, like, I think it was 14 at the time. I said that, like, well, if I do get it, I wanted an original one, so I just took a gamble. So it was this, and the camphor. Yeah, from 2008. By which time they were no longer doing the box printings anymore. So this was 14. I believe this was 16. Pretty good deal on both of them. I mean, a little bit. I thought they were a little bit overpriced, but at that time, like, we were pretty far away from print runs of both of these. So I was like, yeah, I'll snatch them. Lord knows where you can find these now. And this. Oh yeah, I think this was the other thing in the order. Zuda. This is, I think, my third one of these. Yeah. I had a third, my first one I bought in, I think 2011 or 2012-ish. And I painted it up a little bit. Painted the whole thing by hand. And it was a little bit of like a custom color scheme. Not really. Someone really liked it, so they bought it off of me. I was like, okay, sure. It was a decent chunk of change, but I kind of regret selling it, so I got another one. And then there was a new kid who, like, just got into the hobby locally, and he liked it, the kit unbuilt. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to build mine anytime soon, so I sold mine to him. And then when I was getting the Palace Athene and the camphor, there just also happened to be this available at that time, so I picked it up. Yeah. Tells you a little bit about the story on the back of the box, which is more than you get in the manual, which isn't very much if I remember correctly. But yeah. The decals on this have, like, ginormous margins on them, so they don't look great, but you do get a ton of them, you can see there. Just gotta take your time and sort of, like, trim off all of the excess a little bit, and then put them on, and it'll look good. But, you know, for a kit from, like, 2006 to come with this many decals, holy shit, that was a lot. Like, I never knew real grades could, or sorry, not real grades. Ugh, high grades could be so luxurious. You know, leading up into like the real grades that we have now. Jeez, getting ahead of myself. I don't really have any special ones except for, well, the Unicorn Band-Aid Decini version, which I thought was like, oh man, this is the version of the Unicorn to get. Oh, because, you know, it comes with the big shield and it's limited edition. Ooh, look at that. Oh, limited product. Except then my dumbass was proven wrong, because, you know, the Banshee Norn came out a little bit afterwards, like, oh, look, what is that? Oh, and what is that? Beam Napalm and everything. And this was the exact same price, but you got, like, way more bits with it. When this first came out, I don't know what happened, but I was not able to snatch one up, so I had to get mine secondhand. But, you know, it's what it is. I don't know when, but at some point, Bandai stopped using, like, the nice glossy black bottoms on their real grade boxes with my ARC 78. Let's see here. This says it's 15 May. So yeah, 2015 May. But see, even then, they were still using these boxes. And I really like that they would print stuff. So it's kind of like the box bottom thing, except it's on the sides, but still the bottom half the box, whatever, same thing. All the different RX-70s you can get. This is the 2.0. It's perfect grade right there. And I think on your side, it tells you about the original high grade. Nope. That is the... oh, geez, what is that one? Oh, that's the G30 one. Oh, okay, so it's not even the HGUC, whatever. Yeah, the HGG31, and also BB Senshi. Yeah. Like, really cool, right? I mean, I know, is it just advertising? Yeah. But, you know, it's interesting. It's my RX-78. Hasn't exploded. Despite popular... oh, God, I don't even know. Popular opinion. The claims of this kit being a grenade are greatly exaggerated, if you ask me. I believe the Zaku, though, is first edition print. This wasn't the original one that I bought, though. I bought one when it first came out, somehow. I didn't have a lot of money back then, but I managed to snatch one up. But, there was somebody on Reddit, I believe, who was looking for one, and he had that good plant for offer. So I traded him mine for the good plant. I thought that was a pretty fair trade at the time, considering that, you know, 2,500 yen for the Zaku versus 24 for the good plant. Not too much of a difference. And the good plant I just thought like way cooler, so I'm like, oh yeah, I really wanted that. But that was before I realized just how much of that needed painting. Which isn't a ton, but, you know, still more work than you'd obviously have to do to real grade to make it look cool. So, oh well. Yeah, first print of these came with a postcard. The one that I had before was a Zaku 1, and the link it gave you, oh, it didn't link to the article itself, but it referenced an article on the Bandai Hobby site at the time that would show you how to convert one of these into a Zaku 1 by, like, taking off the pipes, filling in the missing chunks on the nose and the holes on the legs and stuff, and, like, changing, I think, like, borrowing pieces from the high grade maybe to change how the chest looked and everything. It's already pretty cool. I didn't know that there were different ones, though, so it's pretty cool that I got this one, which is the real grade. So that one with the high grade G Fighter. I don't remember where they tell you to get the decals for the G Fighter, though. I think it's probably just out of one of those, like, generic 1/144 scale Federation decal sets. Yeah, GPO1. People also, I think, say this is a grenade. I don't know, man. People like to complain about different kits a lot, like the Zeta, Unicorn, oh no, But my personal experience with zero grades are, they're pretty cool. But yeah, you can see here. So the 2014 kit, but I bought this in 2020 locally, and you can see the glossy black bottom is gone. Don't know why I still had the red blue logo though. Ah, yeah, that's a good time to segue. You can see blue logo. Oh, sorry, red logo. Oh my goodness. Still had red logo though, even though it's from 2020. Okay, there we go. Red logo, blue logo. These started showing up in boxes after the Bandai Spirits merger, I think, between where all of the Bandai collector brands under like Tamashii Nations and stuff and Bandai Hobby Division were merged into one company, and that's their logo now. And you can also see that the copyright text will have changed. So for example, see here it says Bandai 2014, but the blue logo kits will all say Bandai Spirits. Okay, so that's one way you can tell. And even more recently, I don't remember if it was this year or last year, but there was another merger, and now it's all of this is just all under like Bandai Namco. So like somewhere on the box, along the top usually, I haven't bought any kits that have that logo yet, but they'll say something like Bandai Namco up here, and it looks like a little speech bubble. And there's a GOC that I got fairly recently, which is really interesting because when I was looking at this on online, not just on Mandrake, in a lot of different places, they would have like duplicate listings of these, which is something that like they normally wouldn't do necessarily. Like, for example, Surugaya and like Mandrake, and I think Jungle, no, not Jungle. Jungle will actually create a listing for every single one of the thing that they have, but like Surugaya and Mandrake would only usually have one listing for only every item that they have, regardless of how many copies of that item they might have. So like one Mandrake or Surugaya branch might have like 10 of these, but there'll only be a listing for one. And then that way you can like change the quantity in your cart or whatever. So I was wondering like why were there like 3 different listings for this? So the Bandai Namco version of this kit, obviously you can tell because you can see it in the picture. But the other way is down here. So this is Bandai 2015. This one is from before the merger, but specifically this one is also the this one was actually from like the original 2015 printing of the Master Reduction GOC. But there was also another printing, I believe in like I think either 2018 or 19, where after the merger, and then it said Bandai Spirits instead, 2018 or 19, whatever year it was. So yeah. Again, not too important, especially for like low volume printed kits like this. Well, first of all, the GOC isn't that old yet, but you know, I'm pretty sure not enough of these have been printed for the printing quality have really been affected. But it's you know, it doesn't hurt to buy an earlier kit usually. Does plastic age over time as well? Yeah, but honestly, I'd much rather deal with brittle plastic than like degraded surface detail and fitting and stuff like that, because for the most part, you can just be more careful with a kit as you're assembling it, and then regardless of how brittle the plastic is, it's fine. And if something breaks, you can glue it. But like if molding detail is lost because like the kit has literally turned gummy from how many times it's been printed, like trying to put that detail back into the kit requires a lot more skill and patience. Skill and patience that I don't personally have, even though I'm somehow perfectly okay with taking 10 billion years to build one kit, so I really shouldn't be talking. Anyway, other cool stuff I have. The GFT Gundam version Revive. So this is just the Revive RX-78, except it's done up in animation colors. Well, kind of animation color. So it is white. It's not like the greenish white, but it's a brighter blue and a more orangey yellow and so on. And it has the markings on it like the real grade. I don't think they lifted the pattern like exactly, but there are a couple of bits where the decals don't quite exactly fit, and you do have to trim them a little bit, like the little bands on the arms were one of them. If you see like the high grade that I use for size comparisons these days, this is the one. This, aside from the decal pattern, The only thing that's different from the normal one is that it comes with a platter that you can stand it on. It's not even a stand. And it comes with a Gundam front text on it. It's not painted, so you have to paint it yourself, but it looks pretty good. I can show you that in a second, if maybe not, because I actually have it on display, so I will not grab it. And yeah, Gundam 00 is one of my favorites. You can see if like every single other like AU alternate universe Gundam series only have like a couple of kits of each, but Gundam 00 is definitely my favorite. Now you might be wondering, hey Citrus, if you like 00 so much, where are your 00 real grades, huh? And they're behind these because in order to kind of, I guess, control myself, I decided that I will only buy the Trans Am versions of each real grade, and that rule has served me very well because as a result of that rule, I only have 4. Because the Exia has one, 00 has one, the Quanta has one. Unfortunately, now with the Full Saber, whatever. Even though they made a Trans Am clear version of the Full Saber, so much why don't you just make the real, like, why, right? But whatever. I guess they have their audience. And the 4th one is a Type F because I like to make exceptions to my rules. And yeah, that's basically my collection. Oh, by the way, this up here. Oh, I didn't talk about that. So in the back is my. Ooh, you can't see it, but at the very back is the GNX 3, the Earth Sphere Forces, or Earth Sphere Federation version, the light blue one. This is my Masquerade Type F. I was originally going. I have the Avalanche kit for this as well, but I decided to let it go because it's not quite as complete as the one for Exia, which I have. Like the back ribbons are gone, the back attachments for you to hook the weapons on is gone because the GN drive is different, and there's like, oh, whatever, I already have this, so I'm happy with that. And you know, if I remember correctly, like the Exia itself is not like a super stable kit, so if you put the Avalanche kit on it, it's basically like bound to a display stand forever, which is fine, but you know. And this is just what this is. This is also just what this is. Oh my goodness, I believe, was it either, it was either announced, no, I think the release date of the original Master Grade 00 Riser was actually on my birthday, so that was super cool. It was like, oh my goodness, Bandai gave me a birthday present. But the one I really wanted was the 7 Swords, so that release. So it's cool that they also actually ended up making this because I love it. But I do also have the whole package. This is the XN Riser, the whole thing, except there's actually just the I only have the old Riser and the XN Riser parts in here because I took out the 00 Gundam itself and I am thinking about selling it. I don't know, because I already have like one body. I don't really need a second one. I did buy a second pair of kneecaps though because the kneecaps are attached to the O-Riser set of runners. So the 7 Swords Gundam only has the 7 Swords kneecaps for the GN Katars. So I figured that I wouldn't be a butt to whoever decides to buy my 00 and be like, oh hey, here's 00 with no accessory and no kneecaps. Sorry, like that's not very nice. At least, you know, it's a whole Gundam, even if it doesn't come with anything. And okay, I think that's really it. Yeah. G-Fighter, pretty rare these days now, but I also remember these warming shells for a very long time. They're on sale all the time. I bought mine for like $37, because you know, like people just couldn't sell them. But now, like, it's kind of hard to get your hands on one. And it's crazy because the only other version of this you can buy is the one that comes with the real type color Gundam, so it's like black and gray, which looks super cool, and the whole set is like 9,800 yen, so it's like pretty expensive. Like, and the box is huge. It's like you know, one of these perfect grade size kind of boxes. I saw one of those at a gift shop in Richmond in the Bay Area one time. They were asking like $110 or something, and they just kind of like had it tucked up into a corner near the ceiling of a shelf. And I was like looking at that, and the shopkeeper was like, "Hey, if you want it, I'll give it to you for $100." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know," because you know, broke college student at the time, didn't really have the money. Should have bought it. See, that was one situation where I really should have bought it, and I didn't. And where do you find one of those now? I have no idea. The only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that the second shield that came with the G Fighter in that version was completely gray, as opposed to like gray, black, and with the red cross on it, I want to say. I'm not really sure what color it was, but the shield that would have come with the Gundam is colored, and the shield that came with the G Fighter was gray. So I was like, oh, if you put it into the G Armor mode, then the two sides won't match, or blah blah blah, whatever. But really, that was just me complaining about nothing, and I really should have just bought it when I had the chance. So yeah, that is my collection. That's some Kotobukiya stuff. Really wish the real grade Evangelions would have came in the TV versions. The cape on that is chunky, but yeah, it's a little tour of my collection. I hope the audio is all right, because you know, I'm moving this around. I did actually buy a lavalier mic since my last one broke, but it turns out I also don't have the adapter for it to make it work with my phone, so I've had to make do like this. And I certainly wasn't about to throw away a cool evening, because tomorrow it's gonna be like 90 or something again, so I honestly don't know when I'll have time again to do something like this. Anyway, I know this is a long one, but it's just you know, kind of a casual style video, and I would like to make more of these, because it's less work for me to like sit in front of the computer and edit, especially in the heat. And I don't know, I personally really like it when creators that I like do kind of casual things about this. You just sort of, you know, learn a little bit about the other person, what they like, some of their stories. And basically, through me walking through my collection today, that's you pretty much learned about my entire Gundam journey. I saw a YouTube video, which was very good, well, at least for the time. Intrigued me a lot, got me into kits. I bought some. They were summarily destroyed while I wasn't looking. I bought some more, and then some more. Went to other places and bought some more. And here we are. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, these little train guys are super cool. This was like the only thing that I was actually into as a child. Like, I wasn't into Pokemon, I wasn't into Yu-Gi-Oh, I wasn't into like Digimon, and none of that. No Blade, just these. And I don't know why. I guess I just really liked trains as a child. But like, there was the broadcast of this in China that I think was like several years behind when it was in Japan. So like, by the time these actually made it to China, like, you know, the Japan side of things were pretty much done. And they kept selling these, and I think they were officially licensed, but they weren't made by Tomy. They were made by like Audley or something, all the way up to like 2004, even though the series itself like ended well in the 90s. And anyway, they're just these little train things. The front of it comes off and it turns into a little robot. And this is my favorite one, number 13, the Nankai Rapid. Oh my Jesus. More, you know, Japanese things that I just cannot pronounce for the life of me. Nankai Rapito, okay? I don't know why it's not rapid, which is a word. Rapid is not a word, but that's what it says, Nankai Rapito. And if we open it up, you see, slides out like that. They generally had like very minimal paint details, but yeah, here it is out of the package. You know, just good old ABS plastic. So you pop off the front, and they do that. Okay, bye.